What's going on? Today I want to talk about a problem. And this is a problem a lot of quote unquote smart people have. And especially in this day and time where it's a lot of people that they don't really think hardly at all. And a lot of people do not, do think their daily lives are encapsulated around not really thinking, not really having to think. And, if you're the average person, you probably went to, graduated high school, you probably went to college, you probably have a degree if you went to college, or maybe you went a long time, like, me, I went years, almost even decades, or at least a decade in college, off and on. It's a lot of s- brain power that takes that is used to basically go to college, go to get past high school. A lot of dedication, a lot of consistency, right? And pretty much that's one of the reasons why I like IT. I do like technology. Technology is where it's at. If you're not making that much money, technology is just like where it's at. If you get into technology, you're probably gonna make more than what you make now. So what I mean by that, while water seeks its own level, a lot of people they hang around with people that basically um are not really intelligent. Okay, so then they themselves, by proxy of who they hang around, they end up, basically being unintelligible. And the thing is that when it comes to technology, a lot of people, because they don't have friends that, like, I was fortunate enough to network with other people that were in tech, and they kind of like mentored me, and they were younger than me, and they kind of helped me with certain things that I didn't understand when it came down to computers, and that kind of like helped me out. Like, some people, their friends are post office workers, garbage men, truckers. Then that's who their friends are. They, 9 times out of 10, they gonna be just like their friends. They're gonna be just like the people that they're around. If you hang around a bunch of bums, then you're most likely a bum, because that's who you hang around. That's your peer group. It gets very difficult, because when you're a loner, who can you blame when you're a loner? I mean, who are you listening to while you're alone? And I did a video on here, and I said a lot of people, they're using YouTube to cope. They're using YouTube to cope for basically loneliness, and a lack of real world friends. A lot of people on my book, on the title of my book. But you know, I don't know how many people know that. I don't even really try to engage in, you know, different back and forths with people because I already know I'm out there. I mean, I'm out here selling stuff and shipping out stuff, and my address can easily be found. You know, and it's like, you know, I don't that's why I don't go back and forth with other people because I don't want nobody showing up, you know, talking some shit. You know, people have gotten shot on YouTube. It's a dude in Las Vegas. He was beefing with another YouTuber, and the dude, I don't know, he found out where he was gonna be at or whatever. And a lot of people, they just, they just casually just show themselves online. Like, it's some people that are very comfortable online. Like, they got their Instagram linked to their YouTube and their Facebook linked to their Instagram. And then they just go live while they're at fucking Disneyland or, at the park or wherever. And then, you got an enemy that you didn't even know that you really had because you thought beefing with people on YouTube was cool, and then you don't know how these people are, man. You got some crazy lunatics out here, so they go find your location where you at live, and then gun you down. I mean, it happens. Like, I'm not gonna say it happens regularly, but it happens. And it's like, what I'm saying, you fuel people online going back and forth with people. You know, you're not registering that you can be found. I mean, it's like, you know, it's really not that difficult, like with technology now, because you got basically photo matching, sleep mode. I have no idea, but let me see what I can do about this. Gotta do some settings. But yeah, people can't find you, man. That is you know, um the word of the day. You know, it can find you in various different ways. Like, for example, your email address. A lot of people don't understand because they don't know technology. Whenever you send an email address, you pretty much are disclosing your IP address. Yes, 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 yes. You're exposing your IP address. I've done videos on that showing that. I've done videos talking about, basically the fact that you can find people's IP addresses through email headers. Now, some people can mask their IP address. There's ways you can mask your IP address, but most people don't go through those measures. But I mean, the whole point is, yeah, people do try to, do things that they normally don't do on the internet, in real life on the internet. They try to do, like, beef with people, and it's a whole thing. It's a big cottage industry, like people going back and forth and all of that. But a lot of that is based is cope. All of it is cope. But yeah, it's definitely cope. And here's the thing, right? This is the weird thing with me, right? Like I can say wholeheartedly that it's definitely financially related why people are beefing online and being showing their frustrations online on a continuous basis. I've had to like stop listening to people online because basically they just their most of their live stream was complaining. It was just mad. It was just nonstop complaints. And it's like you trying to listen to somebody and they're just complaining. And it's like, dude, you're broke. That's why you complaining. And I'm trying to help. And I try to help people. I throw people a bone. Like, I've even offered to give my course away to people, and they not interested. Cause it's just some people just they only interested in what they're interested in, and that's it. Okay, I get it. But at the end of the day, here's the deal with technology. That's why I say technology is where it's at. You seeing AI, you seeing AI just taking over and just, just I mean, just hacking. AI is just taking heads, right? But there's something like it's a video of this white woman. She's got to be like in her 50s or 60s. And I'm gonna post it. I'm gonna post it on my YouTube. And she talks about how like basically 50 years ago, 40 years ago, there were very few billionaires. There were like maybe like only 13 or 10 or something like that. And then all of a sudden, it just was like a cottage boom of billionaires propping up in Forbes because they were dealing with technology. Cisco, the guy at Cisco, I forgot the guy at Cisco. Um, basically one of the guys from I think what is it, a dude? He was from Oracle. Oracle. All of those guys, man, that created all of that technology, all billionaires. You know, uh, I mean, everything like revolving technology. Because basically, what she was saying was, you used to have to only sell locally to people locally, and with the advent of the internet, you can sell products and services internationally. So you basically, it's kind of like basically look at it like the billionaire access to billions of people. And that's ideally what you want. You want to have a global access, right? So you can sell to everyone in the world. And having global access gives you uh access to billions of people, right? It's 8 billion people on this earth, right? And that's what the world of technology opened up to these billionaires. They started to figure it out. They start to, pull money together and help other people start get with their startups and with funding. And they came up with ideas on how to create portals and platforms, devices that people need or enjoy, and they can sell to these people, and that's throughout the world. And they became billionaires. A whole bunch of people, like it's so easy to become a billionaire now. Like all it takes is like you could become a billionaire just off of funding, off of like look at Sam Altman. right? For example, Sam Altman is a billionaire based off of all of the funding that he has gotten for his company, OpenAI. It's not because he made a profit or he sold a bunch of products to people or offered a bunch of services to people. He certainly offered a bunch of services to people, but he hasn't made any profit or anything. It's just so many people invested in his company that he's making billions of dollars. He's worth over $1 billion because of all of these different investors that have funded his company, OpenAI. So that's the power of technology. Now, that's not necessarily what this live stream is about. Basically, because I work in technology, I work in different avenues as far as where I have to use brain power. Okay. I have to use some type of brain power. I'm used to that. Well, a lot of other things don't require that much brain power. It just doesn't. Day-to-day life doesn't really require that much brain power. I would even say, even becoming a millionaire, it doesn't really require much brain power. I've seen a lot of people that they're not necessarily that intelligent become extremely financially successful. Even a lot of black people, they don't like the fact that ghetto people make a whole bunch of money. They don't, I mean, I'm not gonna say they don't like it, but they kind of perplexed because they like, who gave this fool a whole bunch of money? Like a rapper or celebrity or whatever. They just wonder, like, who gave this person a whole bunch of money? Who gave this buffoon a whole bunch of money? But they do have money. Like a lot of people that are not necessarily quote unquote intelligent have more money than you have. Probably have more money than you ever even dream of, or probably would ever have. And it's like, yeah, they don't, a lot of things just is not really that complicated. I mean, in short, a lot of things are just not that complicated as it might seem. It's not that complicated. I'm gonna be honest. Making a whole bunch of money or capital is way more complicated than quote unquote attracting women or getting women or maintaining women. Maintaining women and getting women is way easier, hands down, in my opinion, than making a bunch of capital. The reason being is, I'll just say it for myself. I mean, one, I do have a lot of physical assets, I'll just say, that women like. Okay, so I already kind of genetically, I've in many ways hit the lottery. Okay, or my parents hit the lottery, right? And they pass that on to me, right? So that does help. Okay, the fact that I hit the genetic lottery does not help me necessarily. I'll just say legally or whatever, or just relatively speaking, help me make money. Being 6'3", having a having a build and look like an NFL linebacker, even other rare attributes that I have, it doesn't mean anything when I walk into a bank. When I walk into a bank, it doesn't matter that I have a height that is less than 15% of the population in the United States. Worldwide, I don't know. But that doesn't matter if I walk through the door of a bank. That's not gonna, they're not just gonna give me some money because I quote unquote hit the genetic lottery. Doesn't work like that. Doesn't matter um anything of what I know how to do. I can't go into a bank and game a bank. I can't spit game to a teller and say she the best looking woman in the world and I want to, give her everything that her heart's desire. That does she can't, basically give me any money based off of me saying that. She might flatter, she might smile, she might even give me her number, but she's not going to give me any dollar, any money whatsoever for spitting game to her in a bank. I can't get no loan, can't get any money whatsoever spitting game. I can't get no coochie, I can't get no head, nothing based off of me just basically going into a bank. Me doing that is not going to give me or any money. Okay, the world of capitalism doesn't work like that. That's why a lot of dudes, they have a problem with money because money doesn't work. Whether you're good with women or not, it doesn't matter in a world of capitalism. You having money, or I mean you having women or not having women, or you being able to get women or not be able to get women, that doesn't matter in the world of capitalism. You're not going to get any net benefit from being able to basically spit game to women. Like, unless you go into other illegal stuff, and that's why I said, like, illegal stuff like pimping, you actually being a gigolo, which is basically a male prostitute, uh, things of that nature. Yeah, you can use your quote unquote genetic lottery, skill sets when it comes to getting women or getting women to do things for you, whatever. Yeah, those dark, you know, um, black market areas. Yeah, you can utilize that talent to make money. But in a general sense, no, you can't make any money. It don't matter how big of a player you are. Uh, I used to listen to when he was alive. I used to listen to Alan Roger Curry quite a bit, and he used to talk a lot about how exceptional he was with women and getting women and everything. And he said all the while he was doing all of this, and I'm talking about getting with women that were celebrities, movie stars, Hollywood, basically actors, and other women, women that were wives to rich men and all of that type of stuff. He still didn't have money through all of that. Like, he struggled financially, but he can get women. And he had, a lot of the women complain about, he said, complain about, like, he didn't have any money. He actually just started making money the last 5 years before he died. He started to kind of make some serious traction, primarily on YouTube, selling books and doing consultations and stuff like that. He started to make money for the first time. Like, he before all of that, like, he was pretty busted. And he said it himself. He just, he didn't he never really tapped into making a whole bunch of money like that. Like, He didn't really like the fact he didn't like dudes that had a bunch of money and they would use their money to attract women and try to keep women on keep relationships with women based off of paying women, almost like paying a woman to be in a relationship with you. That's why you have a lot of women today that they're they're trying to coach women, and also they're trying to like manifest a relationship based off of a man paying them to be in a relationship. Women, a lot of younger women have basically lost years of their life and are continuing now to lose years off of their life because social media has propagandized them to believe that they should be paid to be in a relationship with a man, and it doesn't work like that. Typically, it doesn't work like that because it's not genuine. It's and the best relationships are equitable, or even um in a sense where money is not necessarily an issue, meaning both people try to do the best they can with whatever they have, but they don't let money necessarily become an issue in their relationship. They both like each other, both boyfriend and girlfriend or husband and wife like each other more than they like money, or they crave each other, and money doesn't have anything to do with it. That's how that typically works. Like your parents, most likely your parents were not rich, and they had a liking for each other or whatever. They like having sex with each other, whatever the case may be. It didn't have anything to do with money necessarily. They helped each other out, or one was reluctant, or whatever, but they did the best they could. But the money wasn't the uh reason why they stayed together or even got together in the first place. So I say all of that to say that basically this situation of trying to get capital is not necessarily something that requires you to overthink. Generally, I'll say this, and I've said this many of times, I've said this for years now. Uh Money getting or capital attainment is a people's sport. Meaning people control capital. And in order to get capital, usually you have to go through people. That's why people say network and your net worth is your network. That's where all of that comes in, because basically, in theory, you should have a rich friend that can act like, I'll just say, an angel investor, or even a combination of an angel investor and a mentor. Someone that can give you the funding and also give you the needed mentorship to have you be successful in some type of business, endeavor, or investment. And that's, I'm not going to say typical. That's not like how a lot of people got on, but it is quite a few people, even in entertainment. There's people that put people on. It gave people some type of opportunity, and you know, they once they got that opportunity, it was like them taking the baton and running off, towards success, right? With that baton passing. And that's how that played out. A lot of people, that's how that works, because it's basically people that have money, and they can kind of put you on. They can, you know, they can give you an opportunity. So um yeah, that's how that normally works. That's how that works. So by people controlling money, controlling uh economics, right? You kind of it helps the more of a people person that you actually are. It helps that you actually not just knowing how to talk to women, knowing how to talk to men as well, in a sense of not so much to date men, but to abstract some type of favor for a favor, or ability to get some type of opportunity to someone, from someone that has the ability to offer some type of opportunity. You know, a guy that is a millionaire, real estate investor, you know, trying to get up under that person's mentorship, and also possibly get funding if necessary, if possible. And from that, you going on to your own ventures, and making some type of success for yourself. Now, what a lot of people do, and this is where the overthinking comes into effect, they everyone tends to try to do things on their own. They try to, I call it being an independent trucker, or Rambo. The movie Rambo, for, I would say, people in Generation Z, they probably don't really know what Rambo is. The concept of what I mean by Rambo is, you got some dude with a big ass gun out in the jungle, basically trying to take on entire armies, entire guerrilla groups with just one man. That was just how ridiculous the concept of Rambo was. When you're a kid, Rambo was made for basically stupid blue collar Americans. That was what Rambo was made for. Okay, the concept is one dude out in the middle of nowhere with a fucking M16 that, from somehow or another, is able to take on entire armies and militias of men with just one man with a fucking M16 rifle. And that's in reality, the world doesn't work like that. Now, it is some badasses throughout history that has done some courageous things, and they've got medals for it and all of that. But usually it doesn't work like one dude just takes over, you know, um, some entire, army unit by himself. Just doesn't work like that. But in the movie Rambo, that that is portrayed as such. But the world doesn't work like that. You don't take over the entire army with just you and your M16 rifle. The world works just like generally, just like GTA 6 or GTA Grand Theft Auto, where, when it comes to the point where the military is involved, you pretty much, once you got 5 stars, you pretty much, unless you just, hide out or whatever you do, you pretty much cook once you get the 5 stars. But to what I'm saying about the, like, to the coping, as far as like why, for the most part, people online, um they go on these YouTube pages and they interact with strangers because they're coping with loneliness, and they're coping with, boredom and whatnot. And basically, some of these people are also frustrated, so they argue back and forth with people. But I used to be like, okay, well, nothing to see here, just a bunch of broke people arguing, until it was basically, I noticed I haven't verified this. I have not verified any millionaires actually being millionaires online. I have not seen any evidence of any quote unquote millionaires, um showing that they actually truly are a millionaire online. But it's allegedly some people, couple people, that's claiming that they're millionaires. And then they do act just like people that are, quote unquote, non-millionaires. They arguing with strangers online. Because in my theory, why would you be online arguing with anyone if you're a multimillionaire? You got enough money to do a lot of different things. But I guess people, even with millions of dollars, are online, I guess, arguing with strangers. I don't know. But there are some people. I think some of it is also just the way people kind of act. Some people just have these like mental issues, or some type of issues that they have, where they, I guess, don't get to argue or get their points across in the real world, so they come to the internet to get those points across, or to argue, to let off some steam online. Uh they um they they go to they go to the internet for that reason, you know because I said, I say it for myself. I mean, I would definitely I definitely would not be on the internet. um I would not be on the internet being a multimillionaire. There's no reason for me to be on the internet like that. Like, I'm talking about just, every day arguing with strangers. No, no, it's no way. I don't even argue with strangers now. I'm nowhere near a millionaire or whatever. I just don't see no point in it. I see no point at all in arguing with anyone, online or offline, about anything, to be honest. But for whatever reason, that's what some people do. Like, that's what they do to cope with life, man. But the thing is that, yeah, like, generally speaking, Most people's problem, I would say, is financially related. And a lot of people overthink. Some people underthink and some people overthink. Because I think that the fact that people like just continuously, like, they don't understand that basically you being able to live the life that you truly want, because that's what most people want, right? They want to live the life that they truly want to live, right? And a lot of that is based off of a mathematical formula. And that mathematical formula is, okay, generally you spend your expenses is $5,000 a month. So you need about $60,000, give or take, to basically pay for your current lifestyle. Your job pays you 60,000, so you kind of, you barely have enough money to save. Okay, because you got a lot of expenses or whatever, right? And it's just a mathematical equation. And that mathematical equation is just simply, you might have to do some gig work or some side work and then save some money and invest it, learn how to invest, learn how to make some money outside of your job. And then there you go, buy some ATM machines or some vending machines or, something of that sort, right? To make some extra income. And then boom, next thing you know, you got a couple grand extra coming in a month. And then, basically you can kind of over, let's just say, 5-year period, you could save enough money and invest enough money to where you could basically, you don't have to work your job anymore. You could retire early, and maybe, do something else with your time. And it's like, it's no need to overthink about that. It's no overthinking involved with that. It's just a mathematical formula. The universe is probably made up of, mathematical formulas. Certain chemical, formulas or whatever. And it's a bunch of people, overthinking this. It's like women are going through a lot of shit right now because, the propaganda has told them that they don't need men anymore, or society has told them, feminism has told them they don't need men anymore. So they're getting their feminism wake up call right now, especially because the weather is changing. We're currently in fall, but it feels like winter because it's snow on the ground and everything. It's layered in snow right now in the Midwest. So women are waking up to the fact that, okay, I do I do see the point that I need a man. I do need a man. And society and feminism has told me I don't need a man, but look at little old me suffering by myself without a man. And it's like, yeah, I mean, you get your wake up call. I could do a video on that alone, the feminist wake up call. You get your wake up call. Every woman gets their feminist wake up call, and they get it. A lot of women probably ignore it, push it to the side, laugh it off, tee it off, all of that, but they get the wake up call nonetheless, and it comes, and it's a hell of a call, once they get it, and they pick up. They definitely do pick up because, yeah, just simply not overthinking the situation like deals with the problem, like basically being intentional and knowing that you need a man and getting the best man that you could possibly get, and y'all both together, you have a man, you're better off than most other women. That fucking simple. Caveman logic is all that's needed in that scenario. That's all you need. You don't need to have a degree to get a man. You don't need a bunch of money. You don't need anything but what God has given you to get a man. And basically, boom, you got a man. You better off than most other women that don't have men. Just like that. As long as you have basically a decent man, don't beat on your ass, and basically is fully functional adult, boom. That's all that's required. You doing better than most women, because most women don't even have a man, or the man that they have is not, you know, not sufficient enough or whatever. You doing better just like that, just getting a man. And a lot of women, they figure that out. I've been with women, they figured it out. I reach out to them, they let me know. It's like one chick, and she was heavy set, and I reached out to her, and she like, yeah, I got married. She got married to some dude, you know, and I think she had like twins or something. And yeah, she figured it out. She was like, well, I need a man, and I don't know if this guy's, speaking of myself, is the man that I need, but I do need a man. And she went out and got one. And this woman I'm talking about, she's not that attractive, and she's heavy, and she's fat. And she got a man. She's married, you know, with children. She figured out something basic as a caveman logic, cave woman logic. I need a man. Boom. She living a life, right? Just like that. Got twins, you know, got a full-fledged family, full-fledged nuclear family, with a husband, much better, doing way better than most women. Just not overthinking the situation. I mean, just very simple. It's like that old woman that say, you ain't shit without no man. This woman is like 90 years old, 80 some years old. She been around this earth. She been on this earth probably since World War II. And she knows, if you ain't got no man, you ain't shit. She knows that. Who gonna tell this old woman she wrong? Ain't nobody gonna say that. They gonna probably argue about something else or whatever. But she knows. She knows, very simple. She understands the cave woman logic of, yeah, you ain't shit without no man. You need a fucking man out here. You depressed because you ain't got no man. You pissed off because you ain't got no man. You ain't got no money because you ain't got no man. You might even just need a man to just be like, you know what? We going on a budget. You can't shop. You rip off tear up all your credit cards. We going on a budget, and we paying all his debt down. Or you could spend all the money you want by yourself. And you just needed a dude to just kind of like help you get on a budget. Y'all both get on a budget, and then get out of debt, and then live your best life. You just needed a man to fucking be able to do that for you, because you couldn't do it by yourself, because you might be terrible with money or whatever. You ain't got no babies, so you ain't got no man. Problem solved. Oh, I ain't got no babies. Oh, okay, get a man. Now you got babies. A year or two come around, you got at least a baby or two. Might even have twins. Problem solved. Cave woman logic. It's so many. I mean, I could list a bunch of things about, okay, yeah, you need a man. Boom, problem solved. But it's like, yeah, overthinking it. Feminism has taught you to overthink cave woman logic. What's been around for millions of years. The feminism, some rich women a long time ago formed a movement, and then a bunch of ugly heifers that didn't like women, that didn't like men anyway, that really just like women, just closeted lesbians or outright lesbians, basically convince you to hate men or don't like men or whatever. Then boom, there you go. 100 million years of cave woman logic just out the window, and now they've made relationships algebraic fraction equation. And it's not. It's just fucking logic. Cave woman logic. Caveman logic. I need woman. Woman need man. We eat meat to the bone. We give the bones to the dogs. Caveman logic. And that's why women are like puzzled, because men ain't complaining no more. A lot of dudes ain't. I'll say it again. You know, um, Black Manosphere or whatever, it's totally different now. 10 years ago, it used to be MGTOW and IPMOR and MRAs and uh, dating coaches and pickup artists and all of this shit. MGTOW, if I didn't say it, SYSBM. All of them are now. It's like they all converged into Passport Bros. All of those groups that I mentioned, they don't even talk about that shit no more. They don't even do content anymore. I don't see new Itmore content, new MGTOW content. I don't see none of that shit. Them motherfuckers are in a fucking another country trying to live the best life they can. Philippines, Colombia, Brazil, Dominican Republic, Africa, Europe, wherever. That's what they're doing now. They ain't complaining about no goddamn women or nothing. They're, you know, they're waiting for their next trip, or they're already enjoying their current trip that they're on. That's what they're doing. The women are going to those countries, following along, or trying to see what the skinny is, and then they're realizing these men they're happy as a clam abroad, outside of the United States, whether you like it or not. Some people, they have things to say. Some men have things to say about it, which is weird as fuck. Weirdo, because it's like, who gives a shit about what another dude does? And then you got, women complaining. I can understand women complaining. I can't really necessarily understand men complaining about dudes, what dudes are doing. Because it's like, shit. What the fuck do you care what another dude is doing? I mean, like, simply, what do you care? I don't care what a dude is doing. You can do whatever you want to do. I don't give a shit. But apparently, it's dudes that, yeah, you know, they they're complaining about, they got something to say about passport bros or dudes that travel, whether they go travel to get women or not. It's dudes that got something to say about that. And one of the things that I usually see about the dudes that say something about that is a couple things. One, normally these dudes are broke. Normally these dudes are broke. The dudes that say something about passport, they're definitely not rich. So that's one. Two, they believe they're almost male feminists themselves. They're male feminists. Basically, They'll do it. These are the guys that probably do anything for vagina, as well. They'll do whatever it takes, you know. Um, I mean, I get it. I mean, I've done some miraculous things for vagina. I've recently, I mean, was it this year or last year? Was it no, it was earlier this year. I drove like over what 300 miles. I basically went from Gary, Indiana, all the way to damn near Louisville, Kentucky, you know, trying to trying to get some. I mean, it was worth it too, but yeah, I did it. I mean, I don't even, my the tripped out thing is I don't even know, like, my car's condition now. I don't even know how the fuck I made it all the way to Louisville, Kentucky. Like, I don't know how I did it. Fortunately, I made it and back, but my car, I definitely don't think it could make the trip now. I mean, um, I don't know, but yeah, like, the thing is that it doesn't matter. Like, I mean, whether I have went 300 miles or 3,000 miles or 10,000 miles, that's if that's what I want to do, or if that's what I do, that's what I do. But me worrying about whatever somebody else do, that's just no concern of mine whatsoever. What another man does. And I get, see, the whole thing is I understand why men do that. I'm the one that recommends men to do that. I recommend men to travel, you know, to better watering holes, to more fruitful environments, because I understand how toxic this environment is. You got a lot of women that again have been taught to overthink and make relationships complicated by other women, mothers, and they're raised in certain environments where there's no men around, there's no fathers around, there's no uncles around. You got now entire households or family of women that they don't have any men around. Like, it's almost like the men just died off or something. They don't have any other men around. Like, they don't have no, the grandma ain't got no husband. The husband probably died earlier. The mom doesn't have any husband, never had a husband. Auntie in and out of relationships with men or whatever. They definitely are in and out of relationships with men. And it's like, yeah, I mean, all of that just overcomplicates situations. And it makes, coupling up almost impossible, because you're basically dealing with dysfunction. Most people that have grew up in a dysfunctional household, especially when the father is not in the household, have a hard time having functional relationships when they get older. That is the takeaway of some, basically, like, went to college for, basically took a class for like childhood psychology or something like that. Intro to psychology. That's one of the things that that pointed out to me. Like, or even just some psychologists have said that, like, yeah, like, the chances, like, a lot of people that have dysfunctional relationships now, they trace it back to their childhood, how their upbringing was. They had a problematic childhood with their parents. Their parents, had problematic relationships. Then they grow up to have problematic relationships. A lot of people, it's so messed up. Like, here's the thing about YouTube, right? In black, let's just talk about black YouTube or whatever. Like, you notice how everybody is talking about relationships, but you notice how it's a negative connotation of it on it. Like, it's usually always a negative connotation on it. And it's usually people that they don't even show the woman, or whether it's a man, he doesn't show his wife, the woman doesn't show her husband, and they're basically talking about relationships. You can't you don't really see people showcasing the positive. They're just talking about the negative, or even showcasing the negative. And it's like, well, you got it to the point where now that a lot of young people that don't really have a lot of relationship experience, or don't have any relationship experience, they believe that all black relationships are complicated, and should and be and the fact that black relationships are complicated, that's supposed to be normal. People have normalized, a lot of black people normalize toxic relationships to the point where they believe all relationships are supposed to be toxic. It's because that's all they see. They see toxic relationships. People talking about relationships to where it makes it seem like it's complicated, and it's not complicated. It's a bunch of people that just basically made it complicated. It's very simple. You get someone that likes you. Y'all both like each other. Y'all both have a common core of values that y'all both agree on. Y'all both have compatibility. You get along with each other. The sex part does have a role in that, but a lot of times, black people, we overvalue sex. So we make sex a priority over other things, like, being able to be consistent, being able to keep a job, you know, um, being able to um basically be consistent. Like, it's women that they all they care about is how good the dick is. It's men that's all they care about is how good the pussy is. And it's like, yeah, I mean, on a carnal level, yeah, you can copulate, you can make babies, but you cannot, you're gonna have a problem with long-term relationships. Like it's like, no figure, because you weren't taught how to mate. You weren't, I mean, well, you were taught how to mate, but you weren't taught how to have healthy relationship with the woman. And it starts before you actually get in a relationship. It starts with, you know do are you compatible with this person? Can you work with this person? Meaning, does she listen to you? Do you listen to what she says? Do y'all both have common things to complement each other with? Do you both um get along with each other? Do you enjoy each other's company? You can fuck anybody. Like, fucking is like, that's like animalistic. Anybody can fuck. Anybody can have sex. But can you stay in a cohesive relate in order to in for children to have healthy households? And that's what all of this is about, right? Children, right? You need a long-term relationship, a consistent relationship to do that. You can just make the babies, like, that doesn't take that much. You can just, all it takes is a bunch of 15 seconds of pumping. 15 to 30 seconds to a minute, however long you can go, and pump, and there you go. You got, 9 months, a year later, you got a baby. It doesn't take much for that. Anybody can get with each other, as long as, even if you got a disease, the baby will still come, but and they got to figure out how to get rid of the disease, whatever it is. But I mean, all you need is a somewhat fertile environment, womb to be fertile, to have a baby, and that's it. It doesn't require much. But in what people tend to do, and this where it comes to the point where is overthinking or even underthinking. People believe, and a lot of young people fall for this. They believe because the sex is so great that that's going to make everything is going to work out because the sex is great. So they overvalue sex and they don't think about the fact that they don't get along with each other. Every time they're around, they're arguing, fussing, and fighting. So the sex is great. So they're addicted to each other, but everything else, compatibility, cohesion, working with each other, they don't have anything going when it comes to that department. But they try to make it work because the sex is great. Eventually, woman gets pregnant, they have children, and then now they want to stick it out for the sake of the children. And you can't stick it out because of the sake of the children because it doesn't matter. You both can't stay together, without killing each other. Because you weren't supposed to, unless you were just going to be a sperm donor, you weren't supposed to be with this woman because you're incompatible. She wasn't supposed to be with you because you're incompatible. A lot of women, I'm gonna be honest with you, and I've talked about this. There's women that are, I call them intolerable women. There's women that they have no compatibility. That's why they don't they hop from they hop from one man to the next because they don't, and they know they can't stick with any man. There ain't no man they can stick with unless they come out with if they get a robot. That's about it, because they always arguing and trying to establish their dominance. And when it comes to a woman establishing dominance, it doesn't work like that. That doesn't work. You being a woman, you can't be a man. You got to is it Two people can't be the dominant in a relationship. One has to take the back seat. Can't just be, basically trying to domineer a relationship and thinking that's going to work. Doesn't work like that. It only works like that because in America, because you could men go to jail because they can't caveman a bitch. So like I always go to Pakistan. I go to Pakistan, even Nigeria. You can caveman a bitch in Nigeria, in Pakistan, in definitely Afghanistan, because that's literally where those are literally where the caves were. In Afghanistan, Pakistan, Uzbekistan, all of those are literally where the Caucasus Mountains are. That's close to where the Caucasus Mountains are. So you definitely, it's the caveman all day long and twice on Sunday in all of the stands. Pakistan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Afghanistan. You could stand a bitch in all of those places. Bitch, get out of land. Pakaya. What you say? You got out your place. You got out of nature. And nature is not overcomplicated. It's very precise. Men are strong, women are weak. Boom. Can you take a punch? Yeah, you might be able to. No, you probably can't take a punch. Even if you can take a punch, even if you can't take a punch, or you can, do you want to take a punch from a man? Do you want that? Would you like to take punches? The only reason why you don't take punches is because you have other men and laws to protect you. And normally you don't you wouldn't do that. The only reason why you do that is because you're in a particular place and time that you believe that you can get away with it. That's why dudes that are crazy and or either violent or crazy or a combination of both, they just be like, fuck it, I don't care. I don't even care about getting arrested. They have a sadistic smile on their face when they get caught because they like, you know, this broad thought that she, was stronger than me or whatever, and I put her in her place, wherever that is. And it's like, women really don't really have the honest conversation to understand why they think that they can basically try to pretend like they're this strong alpha woman, and she, th- they want to fight men or whatever, until they run into the wrong man, which is very common, and then they're laying on the floor, laying on the ground somewhere. And it's like, well, for some reason or another, society and other women have taught you it's okay to try to dominate men. That's a okay behavior and task to follow. And that puts you in a category of intolerability, because yeah, no man is going to deal with that besides a weak man. And you got weak men out there, aka simps. Yeah, they'll put up with that shit for a while, and then eventually they gonna fucking snap. It's violent simps. Every day there's a violent simp that hits the 6 o'clock and 10 o'clock news, that he done did something to his wife, or violently did something to his wife or girlfriend or whatever, because he just most likely has years and years or periods of time where he basically his buttons were pushed by some domineering, pants wearing she-male that believes that she's you know superior to men, because she's listened to one too many live streams or videos or books, read too many books, and she's you know Shira, man hating feminist, right? And you got a lot of women that are like that, and they're intolerable. They're incapable of any relationships with men. That's why those are the women. They, what they're doing? They're trying to convince other women to be like them. And you got women that are smart enough to understand, yeah, this broad, she trying to teach other women to be like her, because she's incapable and intolerable to deal with any man. She ain't got a man. She can't pay for a man to be with her. And she don't got enough money to pay a man to be with her. And she basically is trying to convince other women to be just like her, be intolerable to men or not deal with men, because they're unable to be with men. And to be honest, they didn't have a father 9 times out of 10. So a lot of times they don't know how to deal with men. They weren't taught. They weren't even raised by a man. They were raised by a woman only. So they don't know how to deal with men. And I don't know if these women are capable of being taught, like, after they're older. Like, I don't know. I'd have to talk to someone that's older than me and wiser to me, to the point of, can these women, like, let's just say, um men created some type of wife school, can these women be can that can they be reprogrammed, or or programmed to be submissive housewives, or submissive women to men, and have a cohesive, compatible, long-term relationship with the man? I don't know. I would need to talk to someone that's older and wiser than I am, because I don't believe that's possible. I mean, I'm in the camp of, I don't know if that's possible, or um I don't know if it's possible or not. But um again, I mean, a lot of what people do day to day is overthink shit. That's the whole point of this live stream. Just day to day overthinking just about everything. Like, and a lot of people make, they make a lot of money off of people, underthinking and overthinking things. Like, look at the black community. Whether you look at upper, like I'm right now in a middle class and couple blocks away from a upper middle class black community in Chicago. And I can tell you wholeheartedly, black people do not 100% uh control the business environment in this area of Chicago I'm in on the south side. They don't. It's just like a poor area in Chicago. You got Indians, Arabians with stores in restaurants and that get patronized, that are fixtures in the area where people go and shop, because black people are not doing what is required to run businesses in their community and provide jobs and offer goods and services that's needed in the quote unquote black communities, whether poor or rich. That's the conundrum that is what I see on a day-to-day basis is weird. It's very, very weird. It's like, the same people complain about not having jobs, and you know they go through all the extremes, and they don't have any money. And it's like, well, duh, the basic things, your day-to-day behaviors of, everybody can't work jobs. The average black person, what are they complaining about? Their job. All of their conversations is based off of them getting a job or having a job. But very few people talking about business. Very few people's conversations about business. Even I've heard people talk about condemning businesses and business, the idea of having a business. It's like, okay, well, how does that help everyone? It's like, okay, black people in America, and it used to be different. It used to be a time that this was different. Black people independently are doing okay, but collectively are doing miserable. Miserable. Collectively doing miserable. Individually, it's give or take. A lot of people are doing things all over the place, but collectively, we're not competing hardly at all. Business wise, stock market, uh, you know, investing, not doing much at all, because it starts basically with what group behaviors we practice, which is basically working jobs for people. Some people ain't even got jobs; they unemployed, because they don't have a strong business class or business base. And then other people, a lot of black people, so they have the same perception. Like, almost a lot of black people are slaves in the mind, and I've said this for many years. That's why they so urgent to like work for other people, and they proud the fact that they work for other people, and even though they're struggling day to day because they don't really like getting up, going to work, but they know they have to do that in order to pay for everything, and then they deal with it. But at the same time, you know they take the money that they make from the same people, usually working for white people, and then they just go spend it with the same people or other people, and then wonder why the individual behaviors combine and produce a cumulative outcome that is no jobs, no businesses, and other people in your neighborhood making money off of you. And they wonder why it's the same problem every single day. And I don't know. I mean, basically the boomers blew it, the Xers blew it, the millennials is blowing it, the Z's, They probably gonna follow behind the millennials and blow it. You know, I don't know. I mean, Generation Alpha. I don't know where you know who's gonna basically change this behavior. I don't know. Like this little my little small little platform and my voice and my little channels and my little views and everything. It's not. I mean, I don't expect um this to be the voice of change, but you can't say I'm lying. You can't say I'm making this shit up. I'm not. It's true. You just don't really, a lot of people be like, well, black community is over. That's the whole point. That's the whole conversation when it comes to this type of stuff. They just say the black community is just done. So who cares about trying to, you know, figure out a way to resolve the situation? I mean, I'm not saying that everybody got to come together and sing kumbaya and do magic spells. I'm just saying, hey man, you you might want to stop being a slave. Can you do that? Can you stop being a fucking slave? How about that? Individually, can you stop acting like fucking slaves? How about that? That'll help. But the thing is that um I don't know. I mean, the propaganda is good, man. People are programmed. A lot of black people are programmed to death. They use like they spend billions and billions of dollars to propagandize people, and they spend probably an extra. They probably spend extra for the propaganda to spread to the black community. They like put some extra umph on it because black people are definitely programmed. You can tell because of their day-to-day interactions. They're zombies, slave zombies. They try to pretend they just stay in the clouds and listen to my videos and don't fucking interact, but they know what's going on, and they know, they hear me, but they pretend like I'm just talking again, but hey, it is what it is. But anyway, I've said enough. Uh, I mean, all I can say is because I like to leave people with solutions to problems, not just be some soapbox ranting and shit. I mean, basically, just like basically, what you got to do is you got to figure out how to make it simple and almost automatic. Whatever you're doing, like right now, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm sports betting, and I'm sports betting like crazy. And sometimes I go on slumps, and it's getting more. I'm getting more serious about it. I'm getting more advanced with it, and I'm still trying to figure things out. I'm still trying to come up with solutions. I mean, obviously, there is a bit of um let's just say fraud going on because you know people be cheating. A lot of probably sports players. You got to assume a lot of coaches, a lot of the officiating from the like. I did a video on sports betting, right, and it was very very good. Because I do have some insight on it, right? So like the coaches, the people that cheat, the people involved in cheating obviously is Vegas, which is the sports books, the coaches, the players, and the officials. Those are like the players involved in cheating. And they do cheat. Like it's almost like you have to come up with and my cousin said this, like my cousin, he like almost I'm almost like I was a teenager when he was born, so like I'm much older than him. But he said it like because he was doing it longer than I was. He said basically, you damn near gotta fucking you gotta like guess what the right script is gonna be. or basically in short, like you gotta predict how they gonna cheat today. You know what I'm saying? Like it's crazy, but yeah, it's kind of how that is. But I'm trying to figure this shit out because that's what I'm doing. But um, yeah, it's kind of frustrating. But eventually, I do believe that I'm gonna hit a certain automatic spot because I only been doing it for like a couple years, and I'm still learning. So it's like, yeah, once I really figure things out, it's gonna get automatic. It's gonna get pretty much like um smooth and automatic because I figured things out. I know what's going to happen most likely, and I mean at that point, she start making money. Once you start making money in anything sports, like anything gambling related, the basically wherever you're gambling, they can turn you away because a lot of the gambling places or gambling casinos or whatever sports book, they're in the business of making money off of losers. And what they do is when you win a lot or win consistent or win a lot of money or whatever, and consistently do it, they reduce your bets. They basically stop you from basically winning anything substantial. And then you got to go to another sports book. So that's just how that happens, right? But I'm nowhere near that. But it's eventually if you get good, you become a sharp. It's called a sharp. Yeah, you basically get kind of in a sense banned from. It becomes harder to sports bet. Like you have to find some place that actually take your bets, take your action. So the sharpest sports betters, they have that issue. So it they basically got so good at it that um it became basically automatic for them, right? So anyways, I've said quite a bit. um the overthinking thing, I'm trying to work on it. I mean, it's hard to do because I'm very smart. I'm trying to, kind of like dumb myself down to the point where I don't overthink as much because a lot of things don't require a lot of brain cells to think about. It's not needed, and trying to switch it on and off it's been an issue, for me. But I don't know, man. I'm gonna try to figure it out, but if you got some tips, man, let me know. What I do is sometimes I try to like kind of use I'll just say depressants, like I smoke some weed every now and again, and just kind of chill me out, just kind of calm me down, man, because be just overthinking so much. Because I mean, the thing is that I think where the overthinking comes in a lot is just you in a situation where your back is kind of against the wall and you trying to figure things out as fast and quick as possible, and you just thinking about things and everything. It's like that song by Rakim, thinking of a master plan. It ain't nothing but sweat inside my hand. I reach into my pocket, and nothing but pocket lit. you know, the song is I'm pretty sure I messed it up, but the song is paid in full. It's what the album is paid in full. I think the song is actually paid in full. But yeah, it's like it's an old '80s song by rapper Rakim. Just basically, trying to come up with a plot, man, and try to make some money. Try to, you know, have a better life, take care of your, family and everything like that, man. It does take some thought, but I don't think it requires overthinking, just kind of like repetition, practice, and until whatever you're doing, it becomes automatic, until you got to figure it out so well that you got it. You got to figure it out, Um, some people do. I will say in closing, some people do use whatever, I ain't gonna lie. I mean, I could have been a gigolo. Um, I ain't gonna lie, I probably could have been a very good porn star, Um, uh, you know, probably even worse, probably got some girls, to do some things for some change or whatever. But I didn't do that. You know what I'm saying? I didn't take those routes because it's just not something I was comfortable with. I just didn't really that's not what I did, you know what I'm saying? But I'm not gonna go into personal details, you know what I'm saying? Like, but my friends, they know my personal business or whatever. But I'm okay. I fared okay in life, you know what I'm saying? So I'm not worried. I don't have any regrets, and anything like that. I fulfilled my mission in many regards when it comes to things. But uh yeah, I mean, the thing is that and even it's just certain things that I'm not necessarily, everybody got things that they not gonna, they're not gonna tell complete strangers about, or whatever, because it's just stuff that people will probably, they would have a bunch of questions, and they probably even try to humiliate you about or whatever. But it's like, yeah, I mean, I tend to keep, nobody will really know what my life is, unless I either got rich or famous and then people found out or whatever. Like, nobody would know. And even if they did find out, who cares? I mean, but the thing is that, yeah, I fulfilled my mission, man, in many regards. The important things, I pretty much got out the way, and the thing is that there's other things that I'm still working on for sure. But I do believe that eventually I'm going to figure those things out.